Okay, I think we're live, right?
Yeah, we're recording. We're good to go.
Let me just change something on my channel. Yes, we are live. Feedback, but I see us over there. All right. What is going on? You are watching and listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live version of this show. I'm your host, Steve V, alongside Kodi Maurice Doggette. How are you?
Hey, how you doing, Queen? I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing really good. I'm doing really good on this Wednesday night here. This week is like, I don't know, 1 minute I feel like it's super fast. The next minute it's like dragging. Last night was the debates. It was like, oh my God. So we're going to make sure you guys have some fun tonight. We've got a great show for you today. We're going to get into our series, Vulnerable Voices, sharing you with some of Kodi's and mine, our childhood stories about self-worth. And I think it can relate to you. We're continuing that series on. Then a little bit later, we're talking about fuck buddies and how they are coming into our world, which should be a whole lot of fun. Absolutely. Just to get into, we are on the GetVokl platform. Happy to be on here. GetVokl, VOKL, a part of the Wednesday night connection zone. We're here every Wednesday night. We love the connection zone because it's all about relationships, sex, love, everything in between. And we couldn't be happier to be a part of the connection zone on GetVokl. So,
yes.
Absolutely. Did you check Facebook, Kodi?
I did, but we're not up yet.
That's okay. They were having some issues over there.
Okay.
We're not up there yet?
No.
Okay. I'm not going to worry about that right now. This show gets they were having some issues. Anyway, let's get into a couple things that I wanted to talk about before we get into the show. One of them is this on our TAGSPodcast show. There's been so many closures of bars that we all know and love.
Yeah.
And the latest to hit the things is Boxers in Washington Heights. And so Kodi, sad. I don't know if you've been there yet, but
I've been there.
Okay. So sad. It's a whole lot of fun. They just wrote on their message board that, you know, they can't keep this up. They're continuing the Boxers tradition, though. They're not going to close the Chelsea one, and I don't think they're going to close HK as of yet. Thank God. I'm so happy with that. And they may open at some time down the road. But as I was reporting yesterday or 2 days ago on TAGSPodcast, the Gold Coast just closed in LA, the iconic Gold Coast.
What?
And so many other bars continuously close. And it's, you know, I'm not surprised. So sorry to hear
really sad.
That. In other quick news, I got my flu shot. If you can see that little red mark there. Ouch. Everybody should be getting their I know. War wounds. Yeah. Everybody should be getting their flu shot, I think, as we're in a pandemic. It's the right thing to do. I went over to CVS. Quick note on that, though. It didn't cost me anything. There's a coupon you can even get, but you can actually sign up to get your flu shot. Fill out that form online so that when you get on there, you have an appointment and you're ready to go. So quick note on that. And get yours. And then real quick, lastly, I was going on Scruff before I got on the show for you guys. And interesting thing, Kodi, they had, before you could even get into the boys and the good stuff, they had a whole screen up there that said register to vote. So our sex apps are getting us to vote. And I love that.
That's fantastic. You know what? I've been seeing it everywhere. Everybody's been telling me to register to vote. I actually just checked my registry yesterday, and I'm good to go. So make sure you're registered to vote out there, guys.
Absolutely. And if you can early vote, check that out too. There's another site for that. I will put it up on TAGSPodcast.com. Well, let's get into one hot gay sex topic before we get into our other sections of today's show. And by the way, we want to hear from you. So this is the show where if you have something to weigh in on, put it on the GetVokl platform comment message board and we'll weigh you in. We've got a lot to say and we're not always right, so we want to hear from you. I will check the YouTube channel to see what you got to say over there. Hey. Our first story, though, that's kind of a sad story, but I think that it's important to talk about. We talk about it on TAGSPodcast.com on speaking of the apps. NYC police arrest a man for hacking, and they mean like with a knife, a Grindr date to death with a machete.
A machete, child.
Police QWERTY reports, as did a lot of other sites in New York City, they've charged a 50-year-old man named Juan Alonso with murder. Alonso's roommate came home to find him standing over the dead body of a man he met on Grindr, machete in hand. The New York Daily News reports that Alonso faces charges of murder, manslaughter, and criminal possession of a weapon after Alonso's roommate discovered the grisly scene Sunday evening. The body of the victim had extensive stab and slash wounds on the head and face. Quote, he was like so cut up on the floor in pieces. The building supervisor said of the scene, I asked Alonso what happened when they were putting him in the squad car, and he said he was trying to defend himself. He said he was in the bed sleeping, and when he woke up, someone was on top of him trying to rape him. He was out of it, though, is what he's also reported as saying. And police have not released the name of the victim or Alonso's roommate to the public. They have confirmed, however, that Alonso met the victim on Grindr at the time of this writing. Also, Kodi, I read another story about this on a different platform that said, not that this really matters, but just to flesh out the picture, the guy that killed the other guy was in stockings and heels and a dress of some sort.
Oh,
so maybe it was some sort of play thing that was going on. That happens, but ended up so horribly in this murder. What were your first thoughts when you heard that?
So my first thoughts were, this sounds like somebody on Ambien, basically, because people on Ambien, they act out in their sleep.
I didn't know that, but okay.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's been noted that people, when they're on Ambien, then they do things and they don't remember them the next day. So yeah, that's what that's what this struck me as. It doesn't really strike me as a hate crime because, like the roommate said, that had been on dates with men previously, and he had a new boyfriend every week. So it seems like somebody that was comfortable in the gay scene, and so that didn't really strike me as a hate crime. So I'm just wondering how this is going to evolve and where it's going to really go from here. It's really a sad story, and like you just don't know who you're hooking up with now, so you have to make sure that you protect yourself. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about these kind of not the same, but horrible conclusions on when you hook up with somebody on an app like this, whatever app it is, when you don't really know. In the past, some of my co-hosts have stated before that it's always good to have sort of like a solid base. So like if I was going to go to someone's house, I would then text you, Kodi, say, hey, I'm going to in the Bronx, and here's the address, so you know where I'm at in the event of, as a sort of kind of protocol that keeps you active on, so that people exactly know where you're at, your friends and your loved ones. But I'm not sure in this case that would have made a difference or helped, just because of how he was slashed to death by this other guy. I just think there's a lot of craziness going on right now. I mean, it doesn't take, particularly in major cities in New York City here, things are changing when you walk down the street because of what's going on, the pandemic, people losing their jobs, the coronavirus, political unrest, social unrest. There's a lot going on. And then on top of that, when you do choose to hook up, I think we need to be a little bit more acute on who that person is. And we're going to talk a little bit about fuck buddies in a couple segments. And the ones I'm going to be talking about are ones that I already know that I've been with.
Yes.
I'm just a little bit cautious about new people getting together with new people that you don't know in this environment right now. I think that's, you've got to consider that, because there's a lot of political, crazy, social unrest going on. Those are my thoughts on that. I don't know. Anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I agree with you. I do the thing where I let my friends know where I am, somebody that could possibly do something about it if I was in trouble. And I would check in with them if something were to go awry, or if they didn't hear from me in a certain amount of time, then they would know to alert the police. But Quinessa and Jen, Queen says, I stay with the mace close by. She said, trust no one. And Jen said, maybe he had a rape fantasy and forgot that he shared it with that person. So that's a possibility as well.
Wow. I mean, we've talked about different fetishes, the BDSM culture. I've shared a story on one of our TAGSPodcast before when I wanted to get into, I met a guy, I was getting into the BDSM leather scene. I was going to the Eagle here in our city, New York City. And I met a guy that was a little bit older than me, but not much, but he was definitely going to be the dominant. And we were kind of playing around with that storyline. And I did invite him over to my apartment, which isn't very far from the bar. And I think my idea of how I wanted it to go in terms of being a sub wasn't his idea. And the being slapped around started to get a little scary for me. I think we didn't work out that. And in doing so many shows with like Master Joshua and setting the parameters, probably also not a good idea to meet with somebody in that culture, BDSM culture, after hours when alcohol has been consumed at your place. I don't think this guy that I brought over had any lascivious or violent tendencies. It just was getting a little bit out of control for my liking, if that makes any sense.
When alcohol is concerned, things start to break down your common, what you would normally do in normal circumstances, things of that nature that you can kind of forget to do those things.
And Queen, yes. No safe word. Yes, exactly. I've learned about the safe word and did not do that in that situation I just described, and will in future circumstances use safe word. Queen is talking about a word in the BDSM culture that two people that want to go down a path of bondage, leather, whatever that is, that there should always be parameters. A safe word is always, they use that a lot in like wrestling and other things too. Mercy, whatever, whenever you've had enough, that, don't go any, that's it. That's my safe word. Good point, Queen. I love it. And that makes sense, right? So, such sad news. But as we all start to kind of, or maybe as we go out and find hookups, we need to, for those that we don't know anything about, we need to be a little bit cautious, I think, right? Before, and
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get into our vulnerable voices, this series that we've started since day one of Tags Live, right? And
excited.
We started all this series because we realized that there's so many vulnerabilities within our LGBTQ world. There's that we still carry with us. And in this segment, we wanted to talk about Kodi's and mine, and weigh in if you want, about how some of our adolescent, our childhood has carried into our adulthood, may have carried into our adulthood. We're talking about things like self-worth. As LGBTQ, many of us have not had a lot of role models, a lot of examples to be proud when we were adolescents and children. And I'm quoting a friend of mine and his podcast who was on this show, Tags Live, Sebastian Lacaze, with his show, Kodi Loves Sebastian.
Letter.
You can listen to his narrative podcast, Chasing Happy. And I was listening to episode 4, and he's talking about self-worth as a gay man. And I couldn't help but think how many of us grow up as in the LGBT community without self-worth because we don't have the examples. And I guess my first example was so many of the insecurities and the shyness that I had as a little kid. For me personally, I was a gymnast and I excelled so well in gymnastics, and I got so many blue ribbons and moved on and ultimately went to UC Berkeley on a scholarship. So I had part of my side that was like in the spotlight, but there was other sides about, and I know you want to tap into this, Kodi, masculinity. When I was teased, and I spent the masculinity thing, and I want you to talk about it in a second, carried with me as a child, where I was always overcompensating for that. And being a gymnast, even though my parents were proud of me being a gymnast, I did well in it. It always, of course, had a stigma like the ice skating, that kind of feminine, it wasn't football or soccer or baseball. It was gymnastics. So even though I was really good in it, I always felt like I was compensating to be more masculine, even when I came out in my early 20s. My best friend at the time and I felt a need to like really pump iron and get big because we really wanted to be masculine gay men, and I still do. Okay. Well, yeah. Can you talk about some of your vulnerabilities that you may have carried with you as a kid that either you relinquished or you're still dealing with, Kodi?
So, I mean, growing up, there was always a pressure to be like a manly man, whatever that means, like doing the things that boys do. I mean, who wants to even do what the boys? I definitely did not want to do what the boys did. I wanted to like play with dolls. I would steal my sister's dolls. I went to jump rope, right? Which wasn't really accepted when I was a kid. But then also on the flip side, things that were really nurtured in my childhood were like I was sensitive and I was creative. So those things were actually acceptable. So I think I got a lot of pressure to actually be a manly man early on, and that carries on to now. I have let go of some of the need or the desire to fit into somebody else's mold as far as what a man truly is, because that kind of masculinity is just toxic, honestly. And it can manifest itself in so many unhealthy ways. Go ahead, what were you going to say?
I was just writing on the words that you just said about, it just dawned on me as you were sharing your story about masculinity on how the old term definition of masculine, and we associate masculinity with being a man, and being a man as we've evolved so much now is so much more. It's actually being in touch with your feelings and being open and being honest about your feelings. And I don't know why back then or why we got caught up. It was the time we didn't think that being a man meant, like you just said, it kind of bothered me, but I agreed with you when you said I was a little bit more emotional or sensitive. I think that was a word that we got called a lot. A lot of us became sensitive. And it's like, and then if you were being teased by they would you're being sensitive, like really emphasize that word sensitive. And sensitivity is actually a good thing. It's actually a great thing to have. It's also called empathy. And for others, and it's like a really good thing, and it's actually a manly thing to be. Somehow we got caught up, I feel, and a lot of gay men into that old stereotype of what a man is, and for so many of us, it took us into our adulthood. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, for sure. I actually have an example, and when you were talking, it just made me think about it. When my mom got married for the second time, she's only been married twice. So my stepbrother at the time, I was getting emotional because it was beautiful, and everybody else was crying. All the other people were crying, but my stepbrother was not allowed to get emotional.
Wow.
His father was very strict, and he said, I was basically the example of what not to do as far as masculinity is concerned in this wedding. And it still blows my mind to today. And I still carry it with me into a lot of situations that I'm not supposed to cry. I can't show my emotions. I can't show that I'm happy or sad or be vulnerable in any specific kind of way, because it's not what a man is supposed to do, quote unquote, a man. So.
Absolutely. And I think that has to do with our self-worth that we carry with us into adulthood. And if you don't deal with a lot of those things, I mean, interestingly enough, I was looking up some stories before we got on here, and there was a story about why do gay and lesbian people get more migraines, was the story. Essentially, the story doesn't have enough conclusive evidence, and and they're going to continue the story. But that alone just caught my attention. And I can remember as a little kid getting migraines as a little kid. Yeah. I was successful in gymnastics and I was doing really good, but somehow I knew that I liked boys. I knew that it was wrong, and I would get these debilitating migraines. And so to me, I don't suffer from them anymore. And I always wondered, why did I get them? Now, it could be for a host of other reasons. It could be because I was growing quicker. I'm not sure. The study is still inconclusive. But it did get me thinking when I read that about migraines. And when I was always successful as a kid, but I had this other side of me that was always hiding, pushing my love. Absolutely. And I can remember in my adolescent years, as I think it was in high school, we are, as gymnasts, I was telling you offline, but we would go see the college gymnasts perform, and we would go to UC Berkeley, or we'd go to Stanford, and it would be like after practice, and our parents would be with us. And I'll never forget my co-gymnast. He was a couple years older than me, and his parents were with him, and we were sitting in the bleachers watching a gymnastic competition. And I'll never forget, and this would have been 1987 perhaps, and they were looking at a guy on the Berkeley team, or they were looking at the Berkeley team, and they were saying, why isn't Randy there? And my co-gymnast, I don't know what you call him, but said, oh, well, we'll just make up a name, Mark. It's not his name, but Mark, oh yeah, he loves to take it up the ass. He's a fucking fag.
What?
And he probably got AIDS, and that's why he's not on the team, and he deserves what he gets. And he was telling his parents, which my parents were there, and I was sitting there, and I remembered looking at his parents, the vileness of that statement, that somebody would deserve that. And his parents were nodding like, and I looked at my parents, and my parents had kind of a blank slate face. In other words, I told my mom this recently, and she said, I can't remember that moment, she said, but she does know that was wrong. And however they felt at the time, they were not going to nod and agree with the insidiousness of that statement that somebody would actually deserve. But a team that this guy and myself would eventually be on, he would have been our teammate. Yeah. And those were things that only made me push gayness further down, which did not do anything for my self-worth. And you can
It
imagine,
just
right?
brings a sense of shame. Yeah, that's wow. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean,
You've worked through it so far.
I have, yes.
Okay. All
But
right.
yes, no, thank you. Yeah.
I want to give you a big hug. So,
virtual hugs,
right?
absolutely.
So many, like, I was going to say, so many of my, like, negative experiences growing up gay, they've come from the outside world. And it's crazy that, like, all of this media, and you're inundated with it every day, saying that what you are is not okay. Who you are is not okay at the end of the day. And it really affects your self-esteem. I remember one time I was in grade school. I'm not giving you gave dates. I'm not giving any dates. Okay.
No problem. No problem.
And we were in the schoolyard, and basically we were going over who our favorite, like, rapper of the time was, and everybody got these popular rappers that were men and masculine, and I got the only girl rapper in the thing, and it really affected. I kept wondering, like, what they saw in me or what I was projecting that would allow them, and it was like, it's scarring for a kid to be called, to be made to, for them to make you feel like you're less than because of who you are. So yeah.
Absolutely. And it's no wonder that a lot of gay men take a little bit longer sometimes. LGBTQ, often you hear about a lot of gay men coming out a little bit later in life and having a lot more, success in life because of that, because of those burdens and your self-worth. You've had to work through, so many of us are probably still working through a lot of self-worth issues, the worthiness that we didn't get back then. And I just think
I think part of it is that we didn't really have any examples of what a good gay relationship or a positive gay relationship could have been, especially in media. My mom did actually have gay friends when I was a kid. That didn't stop her from crying when I told her I was gay.
Yeah.
We're all a work in progress, right?
Absolutely.
Right? So I did see an example of a gay person being nurtured or even welcomed into your unit. But I didn't really see that out in the world. I saw where they were basically being ridiculed. And like you said, they got what they deserved as far as the AIDS epidemic and things of that nature.
Horrible. Absolutely horrible.
It's really, really scarring.
Queen does want to know, was it Queen Latifah?
I was thinking that. I'm not telling you which one it is because it's
good guess. That was my guess too.
It was a female, and it wasn't Nicki Minaj. I can tell you that.
Oh well, right. We know this wasn't like yesterday, so please. All right. Well,
it's Cardi B. That's who it was.
It was Cardi B. Okay.
Yes.
Got it. I love it. All right. Well, you know what? Let's move on to. We'll continue Vulnerable Voices on every week, and we invite you to chime in. Also, take advantage of our poll. We do a poll every week, a sex poll, and you can go to patreon.com/talk about gay sex. Maybe you could type that into our message, Kodi. I'm just curious before we get into our next section. Our poll question this week, the first one was, and I'm curious to know what you think on this. According to episode 204, which came out Tuesday, there is a guy, Jakub Stefano. He's like an OnlyFans guy. He's able to come hands-free, like not touching his cock.
Ooh. Okay, I got really distracted. What did you want me to type in the text box?
Patreon.com/talk about gay sex. Have you ever been able to come hands-free, Kodi?
No, unfortunately not. I wish. That is like a dream. That's what I want to do. That's like one of the goals for my life, actually, to be able to come hands-free.
I love it. And there's a whole thing that we talk about on episode 204. I'll let everyone listen to it, but feel free to take our poll on that. And this week's poll question number 2 is, we were talking about the term pussy referring to ass of guys. Are you okay with that term being used? And I'm curious to know what you think.
Oh, it kind of rubs me the wrong way because it, like, we're men, we don't, it probably goes back to, the whole masculine thing that I grew up with. We're men, we don't have pussies, unfortunately. I mean, fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know. They're stronger than dicks, that's for sure. They can, the old joke about pussies are stronger than dicks? Do you know that one?
I don't.
Because they can take a pounding and This is horrible. I'm sorry. It's not my joke. I repeated it though. So.
But here's the thing, Kodi. I'm actually okay with it. It doesn't really bother me. Yeah. And we were just talking about masculinity in the last segment. You have told us in previous episodes that you're 80-20. 80-20, baby. 80 more top. So I wonder, given what we just talked about masculinity, do you mind that if you were to being in your 80% moment, do you mind if your bottom referred to it as that? Because it's not your masculinity that we're talking about. It's actually your bottoms. It
does bother. It bothers me a little bit because I am a gay man.
We know that.
Can you tell?
Shoot.
A little bit, right? And it bothers me because I'm a gay man. I don't want to have, sorry for all my ladies out there. I don't want to have anything to do with a vagina, unfortunately.
Okay, so, fair enough. Yeah. Right now I'm okay with it, actually. Yeah. It doesn't bother me. But I think it's one of those things that not everyone's going to go for. I don't refer to mine that way, but I've had guys refer to mine whole that way. It didn't bother me, but I think it's one of those half and half, and our poll is showing we're kind of on the half and half mark, that I probably wouldn't just refer to it out of the blue, because it could. I think I one time did to a guy, and he was like, "Don't ever say that about that," and it was like going to make his dick go down. I know. Well, he was, and it was
I'm not going that far.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly. It's like, do you want this or not? Because
and you know what? If it comes to do I want it or not, you can call whatever you call it, whatever. But as long as I can get it.
Exactly.
Oh man.
What are people saying?
Jen Jen says, how about saying bussy instead? And I am okay with bussy.
Yeah, and is it bussy or boosie?
I thought it was bussy, but I'm from Virginia,
I guess so, yeah.
And that's when my Virginia comes out.
Well, I'm from California, and
you said bussy.
We always have to make it valley. It's bussy, right? I mean, that's how I say it. Now I'm all like the Kardashians. I don't know where that came in. Anyways, I think so. Jeremy Ross Lopez, our other co-host, and I were talking about this the other day, and because there's a song out by John Duff about hokey pokey, and he's referring to that. He actually uses the word pussy, I think, in the song. Really? I was asking, because we talked about it on the last show, and I think I talked about you about bussy or boosie. How are you saying it?
Bussy. But
see, I can't even say it. I can't even say it properly. It seems a little fabricated, and if somebody did say that, I'd be like, "What you talking about, Willis?" I mean,
I'm an ass man all the way. I'm always
I feel like the bussy thing is sort of a term that's now and hasn't resonated enough with people that it would sound like it might kill the mood because not everybody knows what that stands for. If you're going to go the pussy route, you're just going to go there and trust that it's going to work. Or you're just going to say you're whole, or you're just going to avoid it all and go, do you want it or not? Do you want the 13 inches or not?
It's not in enough people's vernacular where they would know what it is right off.
It's not a household name, Kodi. It's not a household term.
So you're like, is that something on the nightstand? Do you want me to give you some?
Is it like Advil or? I mean, yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, I barely found out about it, but that doesn't say a whole lot. So I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, what were we talking about?
We were talking about bussy.
Exactly. All right. So take our poll, patreon.com/
Take our poll in your bussy.
Talk about gay sex. Also, for those of you listening, I'm doing a weekly after show of all of our shows. It's you can come in at the first tier of our Patreon, and it's the after show, and it's just learning a little bit more about the host, myself. Kodi's going to be a guest soon, my other co-host. You just get to learn a little bit more about us when you join the community for as little as $5 a month. And so it just supports TAGSPodcast, Talk About Gay Sex. You can go to patreon.com/ talk about gay sex. Well, Kodi, let's get into our next segment. And in this segment, we often bring on special guests. We had Jen last week. She was amazing. We were talking about lesbians and gays, similarities and the differences. This week, we decided to lock the slots here, and it's you and I, and we wanted to talk about fuck buddies, about essentially fuck buddies. And the reason why this came up, because you and I were hanging out and I was talking to you about how in this pandemic, so many months have gone by. And recently, my question to you, because this happened to me, has anybody ever come into your text that you didn't really know who they were because you had either A, never texted them before, texted them like, hey, and looked at the date and it was like 2 years ago, a year ago, or 6 months ago, and wondered, who the fuck is this? And they're going, hey, I think I know the answer, but tell me more.
It has happened, like, especially in the last couple months, because I feel like cupping season is in full effect. Do you know what that is?
Cupping? You mean we're getting in the colder months?
We're getting in the colder months, and everybody wants to be in a steady relationship so they can have steady sex. That's what.
Kodi, you always want to be in a relationship, so I don't know. You wanted to be in a relationship in the hottest month of July, so
permanent cuffing season. That's what I should get, like a new name tag.
Yeah.
So, but it's been happening to me more and more and more recently because I think that the colder months are coming. So, everybody is hitting me up, and so, like, sometimes I know who they are. Sometimes I have like a first name and then a description is what I do sometimes so that I know where I met the person, right? And sometimes I don't even have any information at all. It's just the phone number, and I have to kind of like Perry Mason or
oh my God, that's such an old term. Yes, girl, you're showing your age.
I know, right? There it goes. All I have to do is talk for 5 minutes.
Let me stop you there because I've had a couple of terms that I put in my phone before. One of them was a guy's name. We'll call him Mark again, and all it said was Mark 10. Mm-hmm. And I was not talking that he was a perfect 10, but he had. He had something going on down there that was 10. And yeah, he's not blowing up my phone, sadly, right now. But to your point, I had somebody reach out to me just a couple weeks ago, and I looked at when we last talked. It was since February, pre-pandemic, and all I had was his name and the Cock, meaning there's a bar here that was here. Hopefully it will still be here, called the Cock. Kodi and I have been there before. It's kind of a fun, sexy, with a name like the Cock, you get the picture. And
you get the picture.
Apparently I met him there pre-pandemic, and I didn't respond. I'm one of those that they can send that, and I'll let like a week, a couple days go by before I'm
look at you.
before I decide like who is this, and then I might say,
oh my,
hey,
a week.
Well, I mean, first of all, out of the blue,
Okay.
I don't think you owe anybody if it's not somebody in your normal dialogue or friend.
It's true.
Friends with benefits, even. We haven't even gotten to that. And so he actually said, you might not remember me. And I said, I don't. And he reminded me we met in February at the Cock, and we kind of carried
you.
you may have been with, I think you probably were, he sent me a picture finally, and he was cute. And I sent him a picture too. I'm not sure where it's going to go from that, but we did kind of carry on from there. And then another guy who we did have hot sex before, who was definitely just a booty call. I tried to go further into it. I was telling Jeremy on episode 204 the other day that I was trying to date this guy. And no, he didn't really want to do that. He only texted me at like late night. Although, interestingly enough, Kodi, before we went on this show, and we go on at 9 p.m., at 8 something, he texted me and said, hey, he did. He texted me the other night at 2 a.m. and said, how's that pussy?
Wow.
Speaking of pussy.
Wow.
And then today, so we're getting better though, because I didn't respond to that. And today at 8 p.m., 8:15, he said hi.
That's it? Just hi?
Yeah, exactly. What does that mean? I guess I could show him that pussy after this show if I really
get into it.
Child, I need to have like I need more time than that. It's a whole. I need my glam squad. It's a whole thing.
Hey, yeah, I agree with you. I you know what? And I appreciate all the bottoms out there that are doing all the things that it takes in order to.
I didn't say all that. I just said glam squad.
Oh, wait a minute. We're not talking about the same thing? All right, I got to misconstrue. Yeah, okay, all right. So it's funny that you mentioned like people hitting you up, because one of the people that hit me up, we actually went out recently. Yeah.
Okay, so who texted who?
He texted me. And it was like, it's like with you, it had been several months. And he was just like, I don't know what happened with our communication. Sure. Okay.
Okay.
Well, sounds like a likely excuse.
Well, I can tell you, first of all, you said, let me break it down.
Well, going back, I was the last person that texted, so that no, I didn't say all that. And I gave him a second chance because I think that people are deserving of a second chance. You know, in this time, especially, you never know what's going on in the world today. You never know what's going on with people's lives. I think people deserve a second chance. Now, fourth and a fifth and a third. I skipped 3, by the way.
Well, because, and to your point, like the guy that I met, it was almost like I met him in my season finale cliffhanger moment of season 2. And we've been on hiatus this whole time. So it would make sense that the producer said, okay, what happened in season 2 that we could drum up some? And the last thing that happened that was juicy was a guy text me and we were hooking up at the Cock. And so it's like, let's premiere season 3. Everything for me is like a reality show.
I was going to say, is this a TV show that you're producing?
Everything I always think of it, I'm in a TV moment. Yeah, sorry.
Nice. I love it, Carrie Bradshaw. You better get
it. Right? So, okay. So you weren't disturbed by this guy reaching out to you. And tell everybody about how long it had been that you had communicated.
March to basically about 3 weeks ago. And that was the span of time. So basically the pandemic. So you get a pass for the pandemic, basically.
So something tells me that it was a little bit different than my story, where I met the guy at for those of you that don't know, it's called The Cock. It's kind of a sexual bar here in New York City. And we met in dark lights, and we didn't ever hook up or maybe we did there, but I don't know. But what was it about the guy how did you guys initially meet?
We met on Scruff, and that's where he messaged me on Scruff.
Okay. And
yeah,
what was it about that? Were you guys just going to hook up? Were you guys going to date then?
No, we were conversing. I don't, you know me. I like to actually
talking about political matters.
Hey, I was on another on another app talking to somebody about
oh Lord,
talking about the debates last night. I am that person. If you don't want to talk to me, that's fine. That means that you're not that.
I don't want to talk to you now, but I mean, but I got no. I'm kidding.
You call me all the time, boo. I love it.
But what was it about it so he reached out to you and said, "Hey, we were talking before," and you said, "Hey, let's give this a try." Did you know what he looked like?
No. Oh, so okay. Here's another
Here we go.
level to this. You're like red flag, red flag. So in his profile picture, it's just the torso, a headless torso. And I'm definitely not hooking up with somebody with just a headless torso. I need a face. But
I need below the torso, and then maybe I will. But just saying.
In our conversation, he did send me a face pic. So, yeah, I got to see his face, I think, right when we just started talking again.
Okay. And you liked what you saw?
He's adorable. I think he's very, very cute. And we went on a date. We went on 2 dates, actually.
Answer me this question, because this was on Wendy Williams the other day on Ask Wendy. They asked, somebody had called and said, I wanted to go on this date, but I wanted to be safe. This girl wanted to do a quick FaceTime call with the guy. Yeah. And she says that the guy was like, couldn't do it. And Wendy goes, if somebody can't jump on like for a 2-second FaceTime call, then like what? Like what's up with that? So did you do that? Like a quick?
Unfortunately, I did not FaceTime him. But I mean, I did meet him in a public place. I did let my friend that lives in the apartment above me, I did let her know where I was going. And
Kodi lives like in Melrose Place. It's very like, if anyone knows that.
It's more like living single.
Okay.
You know that show?
Of course I do.
Or 227, I'm Pearl from
you're going way back again. Stop with the old Perry Mason and 227. Right? You were dating yourself. You were okay with living single because
reruns are a thing. That's all I have to say. All right, reruns.
Okay. Anyway, go on.
So, I met him in a public place, and I am the king of when I go out on a first date with somebody, I make sure that it's a date that I can escape from easily. I don't go on a date with them for dinner. I don't go on a date with them for like anything that could be extended for a long period of time. We went for a walk in the park.
I like that.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Keep it simple, light, in public, because
in public. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you have your mace ready if you need it, and
and I have my friend on speed dial just in case, and I have my brass knuckles too. So.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about fuck buddies kind of coming into our world. Have you, Kodi, ever had a hankering to reach out to oldie but a goodie to kind of just slip into their DMs, slip into their Facebook? I mean, I have, after sort of like I've had a few cocktails, I have, and then cringe like, oh my God, why did I do that? But not that bad. Like it wasn't that bad, but not that much. But I have just kind of like, and I do think us gays are a little bit more free and open to be like, hey, and to give us all a break. I mean, if you did really meet somebody in March, February, earlier this year or late last year, nobody planned, for all intents and purposes, we probably would have seen that person or connected with that person earlier, right after that. But a pandemic, y'all, happened. So we all needed to like have a moment, take a break. Okay, we had to. And I think it's okay if we reach out to some of those people. Everybody should just look at their phone and see who they were looking at and talking to pre-pandemic and give yourself the okay to say, you know what, I'm just going to give us a hi, I met you pre-pandemic. Just checking in.
Pandemic rules.
Think of it as season 2 cliffhanger ended. We had a long hiatus and now we're back. It's the fall. And you're just going to check in and be like, we're back. It's like a new season. I'm back.
Are we continuing the storyline, or did we break up in the hiatus? It's what we're
If they don't respond, if they don't respond, they are not a character in season 3.
Exactly. And
because and think of it as you're casting season 3. So you are like, maybe they didn't make it.
I love your way of thinking of things, Steve. It's I'm gonna actually start thinking like that. I'm taking that on. When I steal that, I'm not giving you any royalties.
I am not worried about you, Kodi. But answer the question. Have you ever slid
the question is, have I ever slid? And of course I have slid into somebody's DMs before.
Mm-hmm.
When you think that you have a connection with somebody and things fall off, it's perfectly logical for you to slip back into their DMs after, if you think that something can actually be rekindled. Did it work out for me? No, it did not work out for me. Because I would probably be married right now if it did work out for me. But, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it. Like I said earlier, people deserve second chances. And if you think that you could find some type of happiness with that person, I say do it. What do you think?
I agree. And sometimes I have 2 situations, like the one that I was talking about initially about the guy that I met pre-pandemic. We didn't have any rapport situation other than we had met at the Cock. So our storyline was literally, I guess we met and like exchanged numbers. And I think I bought him a water or something like that. And so
you never bought me no damn water.
Bitch, I bought you a cocktail. I bought you more valuable.
You have. I'm joking. It's a joke.
Can I cut you out? And so I literally, so we didn't really have a storyline. So to me, it's kind of, I've done that a couple times, like looked through, and I kind of appreciated that he did do that. I don't know if we'll ever meet, but it was kind of cool. The other one, we did have a fuck buddy relation or situation, and he was, like I said before, somebody that was great sex, but then I tried to make it more than that. And he said he wanted to, but it never amounted to that. And he was the one that like messaged me in August, and then I got to him 2 weeks later, and then the other day, and then I was texting him in the middle of the day, and it was like he was barely answering it because it was the middle of the day. And then today, before we went on here, he was like, "Hey, so I don't know. I might have plans right after this. I don't know."
Hey, do your thing.
I don't know.
Hey, no, if you can get it, get it. That's what I say. You know what? You don't know what's going to happen in this world. All right.
Yes.
So you reminded me of a story because I have had an F buddy before. And
a fuck buddy.
A fuck buddy. But in my defense, right?
Oh, come on.
I did not know that we were fuck buddies.
Yes. Okay.
I did not know that we were fuck buddies when we were actually fuck buddies. And what had happened was, while we were dating in my eyes and fuck buddy in his eyes, it was for a prolonged period of time. Like, it was months, actually. And I was riding in a cab with his friend back from his house or whatever. And his friend was like, so you know that, I'm going to call him Mark because you used Mark earlier, right?
The generic name of the night.
That's the name of the night. Mark is not really interested in you, like seriously. He's just having fun with you, and it was, of course, a shock to me. And then, I mean, I was just basically kind of heartbroken in that. But I did. That's probably the only fuck buddy that I've had before. I've had hookups, plenty of hookups.
Right.
But I don't know. I'm a booty call kind of guy. So I'll tell you his name later, Jen. Jen goes, I'm going to kill him. What's his name?
I know. Yeah, I mean, I think that fuck buddies or friends with benefits are all great. It's just you kind of all have to be on the same page, and when you are on the same page, like there's this other guy that I met in the middle of the pandemic, and we literally are just and such a nice guy. Like a nice guy, and the sex is good. We've only been together a couple times, but we haven't labeled it, but it would just be that. And I actually like that. And because I already know, and it is what it is. It's when you kind of thought maybe like in your situation or in the story that the one that was like texting earlier where I did ask him, hey, can we go on a date? And he was like, yes, at the time that I thought it was going to be something more. I thought there could be something more. And it turned out he never showed up. And I not literally showed up, but just he never showed up in that way. And and it brought a lot of anger and resentment towards that. And I just think, I think either you just got to ask like, hey, we're just like cool chilling, or figure that out somehow early on.
Yeah. Not even really the first date, just early on, third date, second date, something like that. Where do you see yourself going with this?
Well, yeah, and sometimes it's not even dating. It's like if you're going on dates, then I think you definitely have the right to know if you're having sex, then. But
now, come to think of it, I never went on a. Oh, I did go on a date with him. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I never went on dates with mine.
Yeah, I did go on a date with him.
And Jen wants to know, I
went on more than one date, but go ahead.
Exactly. Oh my God, we have 2 minutes left. I just want to remind everybody we're in the connection zone, and up next is YO. I think I'm saying her name right. She has Make Love Fuck Sex Stories on the Connection Zone. Check that out. That's right after us. We are here every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Kodi and I will be upstate New York next week recording this. I'm so excited. We're doing a little camping thing, and it should be a lot of fun. And check us out. And that's it. Keep up and consider taking our poll at patreon.com/talk about gay sex. As always, thank you to my co-host, Kodi Maurice Doggette. Thank you so much,
Thank you, my love.
Absolutely.
Love you so much.
I'm Steve V. Follow us at TAGSPodcast, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, everybody.